Hi everyone, this is Ronnie Crow again. I'm going to be taking you guys on Networks and Infrastructure Lab number 5, Network Scanning. During this lab, or at the end of this lab, you're expected to be able to use the network diagnostic and discovery tools to identify the LAN network, scan available ports and services, and record results for further analysis. Most important, you should be able to run the scan and find available ports and services, as well as identify the local area network of your machine. I repeat, you should be able to identify the LAN network on your machine and be able to scan available ports and services. Before we proceed with the lab exercise, let's read the scenario base. Your company is recovering from a recent cyber attack that damaged your internal network. You've been called in to help put things back together, but there is no original documentation on what the network looked like before the attack. You decide to commence your recovery efforts by creating a network map to instill proper record-keeping procedures into the rest of the organization. Yep, just like everything, right? You need to be able to know what you have your hands around it before you can better manage it. So this is the case. So you want to be able to identify your organization network and find the range and scan through and find all the hosts that are hanging onto it and find the services that are running on that host and be able to identify the state of those ports and the versions of the services that are running on those hosts. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing here. Let's click on. Okay. Step 1 requires us to log into a Kali Linux machine. I'm going to go ahead and log in. Kali in the password. Press the enter key. Currently into a Kali Linux machine. Step 2 requires us to click on the terminal icon. We've done this before multiple times. So you just go ahead and click on the command line interface in the top left. And step 3 says, hey, you're going to have to run our IP address, comma, to ascertain the network to which you are connected. So we have to know exactly what our network is. So we're going to go ahead and run this IP ADDR for address, and we're going to press enter. Okay. So our focus here is to kind of identify what our ENET address is. And usually it's always connected to the ETHO. That is our point of focus. So every time you run an IP address inquiry, you focus the ETHO. So our address, this output, like I said, gives us a lot of information, but the two pieces of information that are of most interest is the ENET address, which is a 192.168.1.8, and the net mask, which is the /24. And this is what is called the CIDR notation, which is equivalent to a net mask, which is going to be 255.255.255.0. So, okay, I'm going to pull this up for comparative analysis. It looks good. Okay, let's proceed. Step 4 requires us to run Nmap to scan the entire network. Nmap is an open source network and port scanner that is used to discover hosts on a network as well as any services they are running. So it's kind of like you send somebody to go and do a radar, right? That's what Nmap does. It goes through and run through the network and find out all the hosts, anything that's connected on there, right? We already know what a host is, right? So, and scan it and know what protocol this host are running, I used to connect to the network, and what services are running to these protocols. Okay? To learn more about Nmap, you can type the MAN, which is called the man command. Man Nmap command. Man simply for manual. So let's go ahead and kind of run this and see how that looks like. So man Nmap. There you go. So it's a manual. So man is just a abbreviation or short for a manual. So you can read about Nmap by entering that command. It's going to give you examples of some of the commands. You see, you can read it. It's going to give you details and tell you how to use it. So if you're a newbie, this is a way for you to learn. Okay, we're going to get out of that manual by just pressing Q. We're back into the command line interface. Step 5 is requesting us to scan our network. We already know what our IP address and CIDR notation is. So our port starts with 0. So in order to run those 255, right, we're going to do the .254 because the .255, which is the last, it's called the broadcast address. So we're going to subtract 1 from that net mask. So this is what's going to be our command. So we're going to go ahead and enter the command nmap space 192.168.1.0-254 and press enter. So nmap is going to run through 255 ports. It's going to take a while. It might take seconds to a minute, depending on how large the network is, and how many ports are attached onto that network, and what services they're running. But it should be giving us a result here shortly. For the meantime, let's look at what step 6 is requesting us to do. Anyway, step 6 is just simply letting us know that there's a lot of information contained in that scan results. But our focus is just to find the hosts that are up and running and the IP addresses. So it's loading. It's taking a while. Sometimes I try to poke it by pressing the enter key, especially when I'm losing my patience. So, okay, so this is what we got. So Nmap ran through 255 IP addresses and found 4 hosts that are up and running, and it scanned in 71.05 seconds. So these are the ports. So the IP addresses 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those are the various hosts. Host number 4, host number 3, host number 2, and host number 1. When you look at this host, right, they have 3 columns each for the port, the state of the port, and the service that's running the port. You see, SYN port 22 TCP, it's open. SSH is the service. This is the same. So this got a lot of, host number 4 has got a lot of ports running that are open. Okay. Step number 7, requires us, now that we've been able to run this and we've seen the report, it's requiring us to run the same command but redirect the output to a file named ip_addresses.txt on our desktop. If you look at the desktop right now, we don't have any of that file. So we are going to run that command again, and then we're going to add that sign, space, and we're going to do the hierarchy. We want to create that file simultaneously at the same time as we run this report. So it's going to create the file simultaneously and transfer that information into it. So the hierarchy here is /home. So the home, we've got the Kali, /, then we've got desktop, /, then now the name of the text will be ip_addresses, dot txt. I'm going to press the enter key. So it's going to be running. It's going to take a while. Let's be patient. While it's running, I'm just going to go ahead and look at what step number 8 is requesting us to do. Oh, it's asking, it's requiring that we double click on the ip_address.txt file on the desktop to open and confirm that the file contains the output of the Nmap scan results. It's still loading. We can tell it's still loading. Sometimes I get very impatient. Okay, it should be done or completed. So I'm going to go ahead and double click. There you go. So the same information we had on there is the same information that we have here. The only difference I would tell could be the time that it took to run. So on the very first one, it took 71.05 seconds. This one, it took us 70.88 seconds. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close that text, but I'm going to still leave the terminal open. So that's exactly what step 8 is telling us to do, right? Double click and check. It's all there. So step 9 says, let's try to get more information about the services running on this host by using small s, lowercase s, and an uppercase v. So it says this option would tell Nmap to prop open ports to better determine their version and service information. So the very first command did not really open the port, but it just kind of looked at the port, it just glanced at the port and says, hey, that port is open and it's running this service. But now, having to pull up that, I'm going to take that off. I'm going to take that other one. Anyway, I'm going to just type everything right back from scratch. So we're going to do Nmap. No, I'll bring that up back. Okay, so we're going to do Nmap. In the middle between Nmap and the IP address, we're going to do the dash, lowercase s, and uppercase v. So Nmap is going to go, and it's not only going to glance at the port, but it's going to open the port and look at the service and examine the service and know what version that service is running. I'm going to press enter. It's going to take a while. It might be a little bit longer because it's asking Nmap to do more. Not only checking on the host, but go and prop the host dissect it and see what services the versions are, and see what versions the services are. For instance, Nmap might have gone to a network and realized that, hey, they've got some computers that are hanging on there, right? And the computer is just supplying a web page, or the computer's got a Windows operating system. But now what it's asking is, go, they not only end at looking at what type of services the computer is running, like the Windows, but I want you to tell me what kind of version of Windows is running on that computer. For instance, now Nmap is going to go and says, hey, this computer with this IP range or with this IP address is running Windows version 9 or Windows version 7, right? And how does that help a persistent attacker? When persistent attackers, when they run their victim's network, they want to know what kind of devices are hooked up onto that network and what the version of the services are that are running on those devices, to go and research and see if those versions have some vulnerabilities. For instance, companies are obliged to update, or Microsoft updates its Windows versions. Some of those updates that are done on those are for security reasons. Okay, so we're done. Okay. If you look at this, this is the report. The report we just ran. So we enter this, and we got all this. So we went to every of those ports, every of those hosts, sorry, and it did not only display the port, the state of the port and the service, but it added a column on the versions. It tells you the versions that are running: Apache, HTTP, OpenSSH. It gives you those versions. So I believe that's what step number 10 is talking about. It provided more information about the version of the service that's running on that host. Step 11. Says, for our final scan, we will add the -O option to our Nmap to scan this. This option enables OS detection and TCP and IP, TCP-IP fingerprinting. So let's run that command. And come back, we're going to bring up that. We're going to go right in there. And at the uppercase O, space, and press the enter key. It's going to take a while. It's running. Unfortunately, it's requiring us to use a privilege account. As you can see, it says, oh no, from the output we can see that this type of scan requires root privileges, and to run it we've got to have to add sudo in front of the command. This program allows us to execute commands as root while not being logged in as the root user. Yep. So there are certain commands that you need to have at administration or a privilege access. And with Kali Linux, you need to add sudo in front of such commands. So we're going to go ahead and bring back that command. Use the arrow key right back. We're going to add sudo. And then we're going to press the enter key. Okay, it's requiring us for a password. Why type in the password? Don't freak out. if you don't see the characters being displayed. Everything is done the back end. Okay, we're going to go ahead, uppercase PASSW 0, not O, RD underscore, and you press the enter key. So it's going to take a while to load. It's running. It's going to take a while, but we're going to get there. So, like I said, we still got the full host, but something else is added. When you look at this previous report scan that we did, you look at it, right? Look at the rows, not only the column. But in this other report, there's something that got added. This piece got added. The MAC address, the device type, what it's running, the OS CPE, the OS details, and the network distance. Here you see 1 hop. So it just did 1 hop. So that's what got added. Okay. So what we're going to do here is step 13 says, since this scan will contain the most information, we will use it as our network map and redirect the output to a file on the desktop named netmap.txt. So we're going to go, like it says, we're going to do the sudo space. We're going to redirect by entering the sign space, the hierarchy which we did before, home, Kali, desktop, /netmap.txt. We entered the Kali Linux password already, so in this case it's not going to require because we already had that access. It's going to take a while, but it's going to load up. I think we got it now. So that's the information that has been transferred into the .txt file. Okay. So step 14, like I said, I explained that already to you, right? We realized those things already added, so I might have just gone a little bit further by jumping some steps, but it's just basically the same information. So that's the piece that added. The device type, OS CPE, OS details, and network distance. And step 15, right? We're done with this process. We close that. We can go ahead and close the terminal. And we can submit for a grading for this lab purpose. But for your exams, please, very important, you need to know how to run the IP address, IP space ADDR, to be able to identify what your two most information are on the machine, which is the address and the net mask, the CIDR notation. You should be able to run that IP address to, you should be able to run nmap scan to that IP address in the range of IP addresses in the network to discover the host. And you should also know how to redirect it on your desktop. That's it. So we're going to submit.